Good afternoon, good folks. I hope this video finds you well. In this video, I want to talk about one ability that more than any other separates the great from the average. And it's not complicated or mysterious. It's quite simple, really. And that one ability is the ability to deal with failure. This ability is especially important for men. And that is because men will experience rejection and failure in their lives in ways that women just will never know. Of course, women have other challenges. I'm not trying to make a battle here. I'm just stating things as I see them. Anyway, what happens to most men as we're growing up? Because our worth as men is determined by our achievements. We don't have the same innate value as women. So what happens to most men is we're trying to accomplish things. We're trying to do things in this world. We're trying to get the life we want, the career we want, the women we want, and so forth. And we keep trying things and we keep failing because these are not easy things to do. We're competing with 3.5 billion other men, in this world. So what happens is most men, they keep going for a while and then they give up. They give up on life and they settle for a life that's less than what they want. But they're tired of the constant failure and trying and failing and trying and failing and the rejection and all of that. And this essentially is what a depression is. It's interesting because, we talk about depression as some kind of mysterious illness that sort of just shows up and, now you have it. You can't get rid of it. It's just a part of you. But that's about as far from true as anything can be. I mean, in some rare instances, this could be the case. I'm not going to deny that. But you can actually see the phenomenon of depression physically enacted in that infamous lobster story that Jordan Peterson tells in his 12 Rules for Life, where male lobsters, will fight for dominance and females. And if a male lobster loses a fight, he'll be less eager to fight another fight. And he'll start to sort of give up gradually. And what happens is if you give him antidepressants, SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, he'll keep fighting no matter how many times he loses. And so you can see how directly antidepressants are related to the ability to keep going despite a failure. And I'm not saying to take antidepressants. I've never done that myself, and I'm a strong believer in if you can do something without medication, then do it without medication. But yeah, fear of failure, when that starts to dominate your life, that is depression. And here's the problem. Anything worthwhile doing in this world will incur failure. Without fail. It will, if there's anything at all in this world that you want to do, you'll fail many times before you accomplish it. And you can see this in the stories. I mean, all stories, not just fictional, but also in the real world. You see these stories of great men. They always go through a series of trials and tribulations and adversities, and they fail and they fail and they fail. And what separates them from lesser men, from the average man, you could say, is that they don't give up. They keep going, even when there seems to be no hope left. That's what a hero is. And that's what every man wants to be until he's just too tired to keep going. I mean, there's a reason why all these Marvel movies are so freaking popular. It's the same story. Adversity, adversity, failure, failure. But the heroes don't give up. They win. They conquer. And that's the story. Like Naruto as well. Like Marvel, Naruto, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. It's all the same thing. And Elon Musk as well. If you look at his life story and this beloved popular figure, he has this story of how he used to sleep on his office floor for nights and nights and nights before he ever accomplished anything. Just working hard, failing, working, trying again. Right, even Jesus, the ultimate man. This is kind of funny, I think, actually. Well, funny, but also very serious. Jesus, the ultimate man, suffered the ultimate failure. He died, but he recovered from the ultimate failure because he was reincarnated. And so it's kind of poetic. I mean, the whole Bible is kind of poetic. But it's kind of poetic how the ultimate man suffers the ultimate failure and recovers from it. That's what it is to be a man. It's to recover from failure. And eventually, if you keep persevering, you will be successful. That's just the truth. Now, of course, you don't want to fail so hard that you die, because most men are not Jesus, and most men will not recover from such a failure. But anything less than that, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's the story of man. So if you aspire to do anything at all great in this life, you have to figure out how to deal with failure. And there's two ways that I approach this personally. I am acquainted with failure, and maybe that makes me an expert. But I'm also good at bouncing back. I'm also good at keeping my spirits high and recovering. And that's how I've written books. That's how I've competed in world championships. Well, that sounds mysterious. Maybe I should do a video on that some other time. Anyway, there's two things you need to do to be able to deal with failure effectively. And the first thing I would focus on is goal setting. What goals are you setting for yourself? Are they crappy goals? And by crappy goals, I mean, are they worthy goals? Because, okay, let me take an example of a bad goal. Maybe you're going to college to become a lawyer. Maybe you didn't even want that, but maybe your parents told you this was a good thing to do, and so you're doing that. Well, that's a bad goal. And the reason it's a bad goal is because you don't really want to do that. You don't have an instinct for that. It's not what you desire. And so if you face adversity in this situation, in this challenge, in pursuing this goal, then you're going to give up, because there's nothing there for you that's keeping you there. There's no intrinsic motivation or inspiration that's driving you. It's just this shallow thing, a shallow sense that your parents told you should do this. And maybe you're trying to pursue a relationship just because you have nothing better to do with your life. Same thing. It's a shitty goal. It's a really shitty goal. Now, a good goal would be something that you're deeply passionate about. And maybe it's hard to see, because the things that we really care about, they're so deeply ingrained in our lives that we don't even think about them anymore. They're second nature, For me, I've been writing since I was a little kid. I would never even, for a long time, for the longest time actually, I never even thought about writing as something I could do professionally. It was just something I did for the fun of it, for expressing myself, because I love reading and I love writing. And so many things are like that, where you have these desires and motivation and drives, and you don't even see them because they're so built into you. What do you care about? And then what you can do is set some goals in relation to this, some goals that you perceive as worthy. And what happens then is, when you face failure, you have the spirit to just keep going through it. You have the fire burning, and a little bit of adversity is not going to stop you. So that's one thing you should do. And now the second thing is more so relating to what you have to do in the instant where you do meet failure. So if you fail, let's take an example. Let's say you're out in the city, you see a girl or a boy you want to approach, you think they're attractive, right? And you take a few seconds, you take some deep breaths, you build up your courage, and you go and talk to them. And then maybe they say no, I'm sorry, or no, I have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Or maybe they even ignore you, worst case scenario, right? Or maybe they throw a drink in your face, whatever. Is this a failure? Because most people would feel like shit in this situation, and I don't blame them. I've been there, honestly, I've been there. It's a kind of failure, but at the same time, 99% of people wouldn't even have the courage to go and talk to that person. And so you've already distinguished yourself. By just going to talk to that person, you've already done something that most people would never do. You've made yourself extraordinary. And so that's a different way of looking at things. You just flip the perspective, and suddenly your failure is a win. Now, you can do this with a lot of things. And there's also different ways of flipping the perspective. Like, for instance, if you go through some other type of failure, say you fail in that law degree that your parents told you to do, right? Say you just had enough after the second year and you drop out. Well, did you waste those 2 years? Did you do nothing? Did you accomplish nothing? I'm sure there's a lot you have learned in that thing. If nothing else, you've learned that you don't want to be a lawyer. And that brings you just a bit closer to what you actually want to do, right? So it's not a waste. And like, every experience is like this. We learn something from them. We live through them. And that's the thing about life, because life is about polarity. There is no light without darkness. And so having that darkness of failure in our past will make our success all the sweeter in the future. And there's just like such value in being able to flip that perspective and keeping that in mind, because that's the way you work through things. That's the way you motivate yourself to keep going when things are rough. So I want to know, do you guys have any strategies for dealing with failure? If so, what are they? I've just given you my main strategies, and I think they're pretty universally useful anyway. And I would like to see anyone who watches this video distinguish themselves. So subscribe, leave a like, comment. Let's get to know each other. All right, have a blessed evening, day, morning, wherever you're at. Peace.